up, everybody? JT Dangerously here once again. I am here to do my Week 1 NFL predictions. Yes, we are back for another year of NFL predictions on the channel. After a fantastic year last year, thanks to you guys, you already knew your boy was going to bring it back for this year. And cannot wait to do these predictions for you. The road to Super Bowl 53 begins now. So I'm very excited to do these Week 1 predictions for you guys, and I hope you guys do enjoy. Now, this is the first of two. That's right, two big football predictions that will be up on the channel today. Now, right after this video, I'll have my Week 2 college football predictions. So remember, two big football predictions will be up on the channel today, so hopefully you guys will show your love on both these videos. As always, show your support by watching these videos, super kicking those like buttons, and voicing your opinions, your picks, and representing your team in the comment section down below. Now, if this is your first time watching my channel as a first-time viewer, and this is your first video, boy, you picked a good one if you're a huge NFL fan like myself and you're ready for Week 1 of the NFL season. Welcome to the Dangerous Lions. I am JT Dangerously. Welcome to the club, because this club is just two. Again, thank you guys so very much. Now, other than that, let's get right into these predictions. Starting off on Thursday Night Football with a divisional rematch, and it's the Battle of the Birds featuring the Dirty Birds, the Atlanta Falcons, heading to Philadelphia to face the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Falcons are coming off a 10-6 season last year. They got as far as the divisional round in the playoffs before being beaten by the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Falcons are coming in looking to be the best team in the NFC South, and they look like they haven't changed, really. They still have Matty Ice, they still have Julio Jones, and they still have Devontae Freeman, and those three top guys that are going to be up for fantasy for sure. But the Falcons are still looking to get back to that promised land, and that's the Super Bowl. The only other side, you have the Philadelphia Eagles coming off maybe their best year last year, going 13-3, winning the NFC East, and winning their franchise's first Super Bowl championship by defeating my New England Patriots with a backup quarterback in Nick Foles. But with the return of Carson Wentz after the ACL injury, this Eagles team right now is maybe the most dangerous and the most dangerous team in the NFC that definitely could repeat as NFC champions. And I really do believe they will win the NFC East once again. So coming from me on Thursday Night Football, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles to defeat the Atlanta Falcons. And now the Sunday slate, which starts at 10 a.m. here on the West Coast and 1 p.m. on the East Coast. Starting off with the Buffalo Bills heading to Baltimore to face the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Buffalo Bills are coming off a 9-7 record and made their first playoff appearance for the first time since 1999 last year, and they're looking to prove that last year was not a fluke. Now, this year's Buffalo Bills team is very different. They don't have Tyrod Taylor because they traded him, so they're going to go with it. The biggest question of who's going to start at quarterback for the Bills. It's either going to be Nathan Peterman or their draft pick that they got in the NFL draft this year in Josh Allen, the former Wyoming quarterback. So that's the biggest question right now. Now, if you're asking me who I think the Bills should start, it should be Josh Allen. I think because it's in Buffalo, he knows the weather. For a guy who played in Wyoming, that weather is very unpredictable, just like Buffalo is. I think if I was managing the Bills, I would say I would start Josh Allen in Week 1 because I think he has proven himself. Nathan Peterman is a question mark because after that 5-interception game against the Chargers last year, his chances of being the starter for the Bills are very slim. But if they start him, good luck, Bills. But the Bills are looking to be not just a shocker team that made the playoffs last year. They want to be a contending playoff team. The only other side, you have the Baltimore Ravens coming off a 9-7 record last year. Did not make the playoffs last year, but this year they're looking to be somewhat of a threat in the AFC North. Now, the Baltimore Ravens look like the same team. Defense is still strong. Offense is still there. But they did add a huge backup quarterback who I think should be starting for the Baltimore Ravens this season, and that's the former Heisman Trophy winner Lamar Jackson out of Louisville. Now, again, I like Joe Flacco, but if Baltimore wants to be a contender again in the North with teams like the Steelers, they have got to start this rookie, Lamar Jackson. He has proven himself a lot in the preseason, and I think he should be starting as soon as, if Flacco fumbles a little bit, I would say start Lamar Jackson quick. So coming from me in this coming up in this matchup, I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens to defeat the Buffalo Bills. And now the next matchup is the Jacksonville Jaguars heading to Gotham to face the New York Giants. Now the Jacksonville Jaguars are coming off an amazing year last year, going 10-6, winning the South, and also getting as far as the AFC Championship game before losing to my New England Patriots. But that Jacksonville Jaguars team last year was so amazing. A lot of people didn't expect the Jaguars to go as far as the AFC Championship, but they proved a lot of people wrong. Coming into this season, they got that postseason experience. Now they can maybe mold it into maybe a championship team. Now, you had Blake Bortles, who had an amazing postseason run last year. You had Leonard Fournette, the former LSU Tiger, doing it, and their defense. Their defense stepped it up. That turnover chain in Jacksonville was huge last year. I think they were the #1 defense in takeaways. So that their season this year is going to be on their defense once again. I think their defense can keep them in every game. Hopefully they won't talk trash before the game like a certain cornerback, Jalen Ramsey, did in the playoffs, and he talked a lot of trash in the offseason about some of the top quarterbacks in the game. So if I was Jalen Ramsey, stick to the game. Quit the trash talking. The only other side, the Giants are coming off easily their worst year. They went 3-13 last year, and they definitely changed a lot of things on that team, coaching-wise, staff-wise. But again, they still have Eli Manning, but they added a huge acquisition in the draft by getting Saquon Barkley out of Penn State. They still have Odell Beckham Jr., who's going to be a top fantasy pick anywhere in any round. But Saquon Barkley is a big-time deal for the Giants. I don't know if they will be a top contender in the NFC East, but getting Saquon Barkley is a step in the right direction. So coming from me in this matchup, this one's going to be good. Leonard Fournette versus Saquon Barkley. Blake Bortles versus Eli Manning. This one's going to be a good one. So coming from me, I am taking the Jacksonville Jaguars to defeat the New York Giants. And now the next matchup is an NFC South showdown featuring the Tampa Bay Buccaneers heading to New Orleans to face the New Orleans Saints. Now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are coming off another bad season. They went 5-11 last year. Once again, the decline of the Bucs. Ever since that winning record a couple years ago, they have just slowly declined, and they're coming in handicapped. They do not have Jameis Winston for the first 3 games of the season. So once again, the Buccaneers are once again fucked. And they're going to have to start Ryan Fitzpatrick. And again, Ryan Fitzpatrick is a good quarterback, but he's not a starting quarterback. And I feel bad for this team, and I feel bad for that fan base that haven't had a legitimate great year since the John Gruden 2002 era. So I feel bad for the Buccaneers. I feel bad for fans of the Buccaneers that they have to deal with this every year. They have one great season, and then they just slowly decline in that NFC South. Then on the other side, you have the New Orleans Saints coming off winning the NFC South last year and making it all the way to the divisional round before losing in that miracle game in Minneapolis against the Vikings. And they're looking to once again dominate the NFC South. They still have their coach Sean Payton. They still have the Hall of Famer Drew Brees. Alvin Kamara, who's going to be a top guy in fantasy drafts for sure. Mark Ingram, their offense is still good. Their defense is still solid. So coming from me in this NFC South showdown, I am taking the New Orleans Saints to defeat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And now the next matchup. It is the Houston Texans heading to Gillette to face my New England Patriots. Now, the Houston Texans are coming off a very rough year last year. They went 4-12. But the first half of that year was so freaking amazing with Deshaun Watson quarterbacking them. They were maybe the hottest team to watch last year. But then after the injury to Deshaun Watson, the ACL injury, it was just downhill for the Texans. That is for sure. And coming into this season, we're going to have a healthy Deshaun Watson back. Let me just make a bold prediction here. I'm going to say it right now. Deshaun Watson will be in that MVP race this season. I'm telling you. He had an amazing year last year, and I think he's going to have a bigger year this year. If they can just protect him. If they can protect Deshaun Watson, I think the Texans can definitely be a threat in the AFC South. Then on the other side, you have my New England Patriots coming off another AFC East championship, and my Patriots got all the way to the Super Bowl before losing to the Philadelphia Eagles. I can't hate. The better team won. But we're coming off a 13-3 season. We got a lot of new additions to the team, a lot of people leaving, like Danny Amendola to the Dolphins. But we did add guys like Cordell Patterson, Rex Burkhead, Chris Hogan, brother. We got Rob Gronkowski back, but we're coming in a little bit handicapped because we don't have the returning Julian Edelman for the first 4 games. And I can just say this. 4 games is nothing. We went a full season without Julian Edelman last year, and we got all the way to the Super Bowl. So 4 games is coming for me is nothing. And when you have Tom Brady, one of the greatest of all times, you got Bill Belichick, the mastermind of the Patriots team can still get it done without Julian Edelman for just 4 games. So coming from me in this big-time matchup, this one last year was so good, like the last second touchdown from Brandon Cooks, but it was such a great game from Deshaun Watson against Tom Brady last year. So coming from me, I am taking my New England Patriots to defeat a very good Houston Texans team in a close battle. And now the next matchup. It is the San Francisco 49ers heading to Minneapolis to face the Minnesota Vikings. Now the San Francisco 49ers are coming off a 6-10 season, but for them it was a very successful season because after they got Jimmy Garoppolo from the New England Patriots, they didn't even lose the rest of their games. And they're coming in maybe the most intriguing team this season in the NFL because you got Jimmy Garoppolo. You got Richard Sherman on that defense, and hopefully the Achilles will keep him going. But this Niners team is maybe the most intriguing team to watch this year. And I can see them definitely making a playoff run with Jimmy Garoppolo, or Jimmy G Money, if you will. But Kyle Shanahan has done a great job. John Lynch has done an amazing job even acquiring Jimmy Garoppolo last year, and he has proved dividends for the 49ers. And I think they can be a top scary team in the NFC West. Then on the other side, you have the Minnesota Vikings coming off one of their best years last year, going 13-3, winning the NFC North, but falling short to host their own Super Bowl by losing to the Philadelphia Eagles in a blowout. But this Vikings team is very different this year. They do not have Case Keenum because they shipped him somewhere else, and they got a huge acquisition at quarterback with Captain Kirk Cousins, where the Redskins made their mistake and get rid of him. Vikings take full advantage, and getting him with that lineup, with that defense, at Adam Thielen, the returning Dalvin Cook at running back, this Vikings team is going to be a threat in the NFC for sure. And I still think they will win the NFC North, even though Aaron Rodgers is back with the Packers. So coming from me in this big-time matchup, this one's tough because this one's a really tough one. I'm going to go, and I may get this one wrong, but I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers to upset the Minnesota Vikings. And now the next matchup, it is the Tennessee Titans heading to Florida to face the Miami Dolphins. Now the Tennessee Titans are coming off a 9-7 record last year, and they made the playoffs for the first time in years. And they got the biggest upset in the wild card round, knocking off the AFC West champions Kansas City Chiefs before losing to my Patriots in the divisional round. But Tennessee is definitely in the right direction right now. When you got Marcus Mariota running the show, they can definitely get even better and better each and every season, and they can be a legit threat in the AFC South. Then on the other side, you have the Miami Dolphins coming off a 6-10 record. When you start Jay Cutler, what the hell do you expect? And thank God the Dolphins got rid of his sorry ass. So we're going to see a very different Miami Dolphins team. They did add Danny Amendola, our former wide receiver at the Patriots. So that's a big-time move. Jarvis Landry is going to be a top pick in the draft. In fantasy drafts, Kenyon Drake's going to be a talented running back. But the biggest question is, can Tannehill stay healthy? Because I saw who their backup is. Their backup is Brock Osweiler. And let me just say this again. Brock Osweiler is a bust. And if the Dolphins start playing him, you can be rest assured on this channel you will not see me pick the Dolphins ever again, because Brock Osweiler is a joke. So I'm really hoping Tannehill stays healthy, because I want to see some competition in the AFC East. I don't want to just see the Patriots win every year. I want to see a little bit of a competitiveness in that division, even though I'm a Patriots fan. I like to have a competition. So coming from me in this matchup, I'm going to go with Marcus Mariota and the Tennessee Titans to defeat the Miami Dolphins. And now the next matchup, it is the Cincinnati Bengals heading to Lucas Oil Stadium to face the Indianapolis Colts. Now the Cincinnati Bengals are coming off another losing season last year, going 7-9, and when you saw them going 7-9, the first thought you were in your mind is Marvin Lewis is going to get fired, because he hasn't proved himself as a great coach because of his winless postseason record. But out of nowhere in the offseason, Cincinnati signs Marvin Lewis to a 2-year extension. Now let me just say this. Cincinnati Bengals. You know what happens when you re-sign a coach that everybody did not want back in Cincinnati? You know what happens when you're guaranteeing your franchise's fan base another losing season after losing season? You know what happens, Cincinnati Bengals fans and Cincinnati Bengals organization? You know what happens? It's only week 1.
You just made the list!
Like, how? How do they sign Marvin Lewis for 2 more years? He doesn't even have a winning postseason record, and you're keeping him for 2 years. You must not want to win anymore. It just seems like Cincinnati does not want to win anymore, and it's sad, especially for that fan base. And they're sticking with Marvin Lewis for 2 more years. It's sad, and I feel bad for him. Then on the other side, you have the Indianapolis Colts coming off a very bad year, 4-12, and it wasn't easy without Andrew Luck, but finally back in the lineup this year, Andrew Luck. Hopefully that shoulder will keep him, that defense and that offensive line will keep him safe. That shoulder injury he got last year definitely hindered the Colts from winning the AFC South, which they usually always win. But with the Jacksonville Jaguars stepping up in the South, the Texans getting better every year, Indianapolis has to step up. So coming from me in this matchup, I am taking the Indianapolis Colts to defeat the lowly Cincinnati Bengals. And now the next matchup, it is an AFC North battle featuring the Pittsburgh Steelers heading to Cleveland to face the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are coming off another North championship, and they got as far as the AFC divisional round before losing to Jacksonville, and they were 13-3 that year. But this year's Steelers team is looking to continue their dominance in the AFC North and maybe go as far as the AFC Championship or maybe the Super Bowl. Now, they still have their usual crew of Big Ben, who's going to be a fantasy pickup, Antonio Brown, fantasy pickup, Le'Veon Bell, for the time being, he's still in Pittsburgh. He's fantasy pickup. Juju Smith-Schuster and that defense definitely stepping up, but they have definitely got to get off the hump because they haven't been in the AFC Championship in a long time. So they haven't been there since they won their last Super Bowl. So the Steelers have got to step it up and try to still be the best team in the AFC. Then on the other side, you have the Cleveland Browns coming off another winless season. They are 0-32 in the last 2 years, and they're coming into this season maybe another team that's on watch because they added a huge pickup in the draft, their number 1 draft pick, my man from Oklahoma, the Heisman Trophy winner, Baker Mayfield, and I really want to see him start. I think if Baker Mayfield starts every game for the Browns, I can see them getting 8+ wins. Tyrod Taylor is a great quarterback, no doubt, and he did get hurt in the preseason, but I want to see Baker Mayfield start for the Browns because I think he can definitely get it done. That defense has gotten even better with Myles Garrett and a few new additions to that defense. Flash Gordon is healthy. Hopefully he doesn't do anything stupid. But this Browns team is definitely on the rise, especially when they got Baker Mayfield because he can throw the ball, he can run the ball, he can do it all. So coming from me in this AFC North battle, oh, man, this one's tough. Like I said, if Baker Mayfield starts, I can see Cleveland winning more than 7+ games this year. But coming from me in this matchup, I think this could be a blowout. But I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers to defeat the Cleveland Browns. And now the next matchup, it is an AFC West showdown featuring the Kansas City Chiefs heading to Los Angeles to face the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs are coming off winning the AFC West once again, but once again, the playoff bit them in the ass when they lost to the Houston Texans on Wild Card Weekend. So, after that season last year, they changed it up. They changed their team completely by getting rid of Alex Smith, which was kind of foregone conclusion, but now they're going to have to start Patrick Mahomes II, their last year's number 1, their draft pick from Texas Tech. Now, we only saw Patrick Mahomes for a couple games, but I kind of see that the Chiefs think he's the future, and this is the time to show it right here, this year. And this Chiefs team, I think, always do good in the regular season, but they choke in the postseason, and that's their Achilles heel. They can win all the games they won in the regular season, but when it matters in the postseason, they always choke, especially at home. Then on the other side, you have the Chargers coming off a very good year last year at 9-7, but coming into this season, they lost a huge piece of their puzzle. They lost Hunter Henry with a torn ACL, their rookie, their flashy tight end that a lot of guys in fantasy were picking up, but him being gone is huge. That does not help Phillip Rivers. That does not help that defense with Joey Bosa Jr., but that is a huge loss. I don't know if Antonio Gates is going to come out of retirement, but losing Hunter Henry before the season even starts was huge for the Chargers. So coming from me in this AFC West showdown, I am taking the Los Angeles Chargers to defeat the Kansas City Chiefs. And now the next matchup. It is my Seattle Seahawks heading to Mile High to face the Denver Broncos. Now the Seattle Seahawks are coming off a 9-7 record last year, missing the playoffs for the first time in seems like forever. But this year's Seattle Seahawks team is very different. I mean, the Legion of Boom are not nearly dead yet, but it's getting close to there. I mean, some of the top players like Sherman leaving, Earl Thomas, I think, retired. But this team is still always consistently winning. They haven't had a losing record in, seems like decades. But Pete Carroll is doing a fantastic job. Russell Wilson had an almost MVP year, doing it almost by himself. And that offensive line has got to protect them. Dougie Baldwin had a big-time year. And the one thing they were missing on the Seahawks was a running game, but now they have now a great running game with a two-headed dragon with Chris Carlson or Chris C-Dub and their newest addition to that running back squad of Rashad Penny. Now, if you watch him at San Diego State, you know he's good. So the Seahawks are looking to become part and top of the NFC West once again and make it back to the playoffs. Then on the other side, you have the Denver Broncos coming off another bad year, going at 5-11 last year. What else is new? And they are looking for anything right now because the Broncos haven't really done anything lately. I mean, they're still the same team. They still have Trevor Siemian and Paxton Lynch, but this Broncos team is kind of the weak team in the AFC West, if you ask me. So, coming from me in this matchup, I am taking the Seattle Seahawks, my Seahawks, to defeat the Denver Broncos. And now the next matchup. It is the Dallas Cowboys heading to Charlotte to face the Carolina Panthers. Now the Dallas Cowboys are coming off a 9-7 year last year. Did not make the playoffs. But coming into this year, they are a very different team. There's no Des Bryant, which is maybe their biggest loss. And there's no Jason Witten, who moved on to the commentator's booth on Fox. But this Cowboys team is looking to get back on track. I mean, they haven't won the East in a long time, and they haven't made the playoffs in seems like 2 or 3 years. But Brad Garrett, this is his last chance. If the Cowboys do not make the playoffs this year, I'm telling you right now, he's going to be fired. And even though you have Dak and Zeke the Freak, who are going to be top picks in fantasy, they're going to need help. That receiving core is going to be very different than what we've seen before. No Dez, but getting rid of Dez was a necessary thing to do because he really has been half-assing it. And he's still a free agent as of right now. And Jason Witten retiring was big. I think that's a big loss for the Cowboys. But I think the Cowboys will still be a threat in the East, but I'm still sticking with the Eagles to win the NFC East. Then on the other side, you have the Carolina Panthers coming off a very good year last year at 11-5. Cam Newton had a great year, but in the playoffs, they lost to a very experienced New Orleans Saints team. But this year's Carolina Panthers team is still going to be a top team in the South. I mean, you got Cam Newton, you got Christian McCaffrey, you got some great wide receivers on that team, great defensive players, and they can still be a threat to win the South. That South is very wide open with 3 big teams: Atlanta, New Orleans, and Carolina. No offense to Tampa, but it's not going to happen this year. So coming from me in this matchup, this one's going to be good. Dak versus Cam, Zeke versus McCaffrey. This one's going to be a really good one. But I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys to defeat the Carolina Panthers. And now the next matchup. It is the Washington Redskins heading to Glendale to face the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Washington Redskins are coming off a very bad year, once again at 7-9, and they made a lot of changes in the offseason, in which the biggest one was their biggest mistake. Now, the Redskins did not pay Kirk Cousins. Like I said all of last year they should just pay the man. He put the Skins on the map, and what did they do? They got rid of him. They let him go. Redskins, you know what happens when you get rid of a player that was actually winning for you guys since it felt like forever? You know what happens when you get rid of him and you get Alex Smith? You know what happens, Redskins? You know what happens.
You just made the list!
What are you thinking? I'm sorry, yeah, Kirk Cousins did not win a lot, but at least he gave you guys a chance to be top in that division. But you're going to go with Alex Smith? Yes, he's great in the regular season, but do you trust him in the playoffs? I mean, come on. You got to be crazy or stupid. But the Redskins have to make the list for even getting rid of Kirk Cousins. And they also lost a huge key player on their running game. They lost their draft pick, Darian Geis, who played at LSU, and he was a beast. But he's going to be out for the season with a torn ACL, so they had to pick up Adrian Peterson. AP all day, baby. But Adrian Peterson, we don't even know how healthy his legs is. So that's the biggest question mark. But the Redskins, I still don't think they're going to be a threat in the NFC East. I just don't. Then on the other side, you have the Arizona Cardinals coming off a 500-year, 8-8. Bruce Arians retiring. Carson Palmer retiring. Larry Fitzgerald is still there. And they're going to be somewhat of a threat. And they have Sam Bradford as their quarterback. So I love Sam Bradford, but he's 1 or 2 sacks away from being on his knees to be done forever. And I feel bad for somebody like Sam Bradford, because I like Sam Bradford. I watched him at Oklahoma. But the 2 ACL injuries, and you're putting him as your starting quarterback is asking for a disaster, and I'm not liking it. So coming from me in this matchup, I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals to defeat the Washington Redskins. And now the Sunday night matchup, and it's an NFC North rivalry featuring the Chicago Bears heading to Lambeau to face the Green Bay Packers. Now the Chicago Bears are coming off a very rough year last year, going 5-11, and that was Mitchell Trubisky's first year. Now, again, they didn't have a lot of help last year. Last year was just terrible for the Bears, but I think this year you got to look out for Mitchell Trubisky. I know they put everything on Mitchell Trubisky when they drafted him. He had an okay year this year, but I think this year that freshman slump is going to be a sophomore rise for Mitchell Trubisky and Chicago Bears fans. Then on the other side, you have the Green Bay Packers coming off easily maybe their worst year, going 7-9, and last year was the year that Aaron Rodgers got hurt with a broken collarbone. They tried to bring him back, and it didn't work. So he's coming into this season definitely with a little bit more weapons. Now, yes, they got rid of Jordy Nelson, but they added Jimmy Golden Grahams. They still have Randall Cobb. They still have a great running game, and the Packers are looking to be once again top in the NFC North. So, coming from me in this matchup on Sunday Night Football, Mitchell Trubisky versus Aaron Rodgers. This one's going to be a good one. I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers, Cheesehead Nation, to defeat the Chicago Bears. And now the Monday night matchups, which is a doubleheader, starting off with the first game of 2, featuring the New York Jets heading to Ford Field to face the Detroit Lions. Now the Jets are coming off a very bad year last year, going 5-11, and coming into this season, they're a very different team, and I think they can be a sleeper pick to make the playoffs this year because they added 2 top quarterbacks that it could be either one of them I would be happy to see start, with one being Teddy Bridgewater and their number 1 draft pick, Sam Darnold, out of USC. Now, this Jets team hasn't been as good as they used to be in the past, but I think with Teddy Bridgewater quarterbacking or Sam Darnold, who I watched at USC, being a California kid, I think the Jets are going to be in good shape. I mean, they gave us a little bit of a run for their money last year, but let's see what they can do this year. But either way, they are definitely solid when it comes to quarterbacks. The only other side of the Detroit Lions coming off another 9-7 season, not making it to the playoffs, and really they haven't done anything new. It's still Matthew Stafford. It's still that great defense. It's still some great receivers and defensive players. But they really haven't changed a lot. And with the North definitely picking up in the NFC with the Packers, with Aaron Rodgers back, the Vikings coming off a great year last year, Detroit has to step it up for sure. So coming from me in this first of 2 Monday night games in Week 1, this one's tough. I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions to defeat the New York Jets in a very close matchup. And now the final matchup in Week 1, pitting the Los Angeles Rams heading to the Coliseum to face the Oakland Raiders. Now, starting off the Rams. The Rams are coming off easily their greatest year last year ever since they moved to LA. They won the NFC West, and they hosted their first game in the Coliseum in the playoffs for the first time in years. Even though they lost in the wild card round, they got a lot of playoff experience. And this Rams team in the offseason, my God, they have just stacked this team up. I mean, defense-wise, they stacked it up. Offense-wise, they still have those just amazing fantasy players like Cooper Kupp, who was a great pickup in fantasy on my league. Todd Gurley, who I think will be the top in the MVP race. Jared Goff, who had a great year, a great third year in the NFL. And Sean McVay is doing one hell of a job. And again, I think the Rams are going to be the top team to beat in the NFC West. And I also am boldly predicting 3 teams. Yes, 3 teams will come out of the NFC West to make the playoffs. I really do believe that. The only year's idea of the Oakland Raiders coming off a very bad 6-10 season last year, and they changed everything about this Raiders team, especially at the head coaching position, because they brought the man back. He is back from the dead. He is big bad Chucky John Gruden, and adding John Gruden to this to coaching this Raiders team. I mean, he hasn't coached the Raiders since that 2001 year when they lost to my Patriots in the old Tuck Rule game, but bringing back John Gruden for the Raiders is huge. And then adding Jordy Nelson to that array of fantastic wide receivers like Amari Cooper. Hopefully he'll have a better season than he did last year. But this Raiders team is definitely going to be even better. And I can see them definitely winning the AFC West this year. I just think this Raiders team is definitely the best team right now in California, other than the Rams and the Chargers. So, coming from me in this final matchup of Week 1, I am taking, as much as I like this Raiders team, it's going to be hard to pick against the Rams all season. So, I'm going to take the Los Angeles Rams to defeat a very good Oakland Raiders team in a close battle. And those are my Week 1 NFL predictions. Now, I want to thank you guys so very much for watching these predictions today. Comment below, who do you have winning in Week 1? Let me know what your guys' picks are. As always, represent your team in the comment section. If you're an NFL fan like myself, definitely represent yourself in the comment section. And let me see your let's see your comments and your opinions. Let's have a conversation about them. Of course, I'm always on to see your comment, like it, and of course reply right back to me, because comments are absolutely always welcome on the channel. And I do want to thank you guys so very much for watching this video today. Now, before you go, you guys can never forget to do this. That like button, comment, share with friends. Of course, super kick that like button like only you guys can. Of course, you can never forget to do this as well. That subscribe button, become part of this bigger and dangerous alliance, and I will see you guys later today for my Week 2 college football predictions. Football is back, baby, and it's just too sweet. Later days, guys, and peace.